Do you want to know how real hackers operate step by step? MITRE ATT&CK is their playbook, a framework that explains attacker behavior and how defenders use it to detect and stop threats. MITRE is a U.S. nonprofit organization that develops open frameworks to make cybersecurity knowledge accessible to everyone. One of their most well-known projects is the MITRE ATT&CK framework, which stands for Adversarial Tactics, Techniques, and Common Knowledge. It is a structured knowledge base that describes how attackers behave in real incidents, how they move through systems, and how they achieve their objectives. The framework is built around TTPs, tactics, techniques, and procedures. Tactics represent the attacker's goals, such as gaining initial access or moving laterally through a network. Techniques explain how those goals are achieved, for example by stealing credentials or executing scripts. Sub-techniques break techniques into more specific variations and use cases. Procedures are real-world examples. Observe tools, commands, or playbooks attackers used in incidents. Examples of procedure labels you might see are Mimikatz, LSASS memory dump, or secrets dump, credential dumping from system databases. Together, tactics, techniques, sub-techniques, and procedures form a detailed map of attacker behavior that helps defenders understand, detect, and prevent real attacks. Now that you know what MITRE ATT&CK is, let's look at how to actually read the matrix. Think of the matrix as a map of the attacker's journey. Each column in the matrix represents a tactic. In other words, one of the attacker's goals during an intrusion. It starts on the left with things like initial access and execution, and moves to the right with later stages such as credential access, exfiltration, and impact. As you move across the matrix, you're basically following the logical flow of an attack, from the moment the attacker enters a system to the moment they achieve their final objective. Under each tactic, you'll see a list of techniques. These describe how that goal can be achieved. For example, under credential access, you'll find techniques like OS credential dumping or brute force. When you click on a technique, you can explore sub-techniques that go into more detail. Each technique and sub-technique entry includes detailed information, how it works, what systems it affects, how you might detect it, and, most importantly, procedure examples observed in real-world attacks. These procedures are not hypothetical. They come from forensic analysis of actual threat actors. For example, MITRE lists real observations, like Mimikatz. You'll also see which threat groups are known to use these procedures, so you can understand not just how an attack works, but who might be behind it. Once you get used to the layout, the matrix becomes an incredibly powerful tool. It lets you visualize the entire life cycle of an attack and see how each action connects to the next, giving defenders a structured way to identify, detect, and disrupt attacker behavior. MITRE ATT&CK isn't just a catalog of hacker tricks. It's a practical framework that helps defenders understand, detect, and respond to attacks more effectively. Blue teams use it to map their existing detections against the framework and identify where they have visibility gaps. That way, they can focus on building new detections for techniques they currently can't see. Threat intelligence teams use ATT&CK to organize reports and map observed behaviors to specific techniques, which helps them connect threat actor activity to real tactics and motives. Incident response teams use ATT&CK to describe attacks in a standardized way. Instead of saying, the attacker ran a PowerShell script, they can say, the attacker used technique T1059.001, PowerShell, making it easier to share and compare findings across teams. For product vendors and SIEM platforms, ATT&CK provides a universal language. Many security tools now tag alerts and logs with attack IDs, so analysts can instantly understand what type of behavior triggered the alert. Even management and risk teams benefit. ATT&CK gives them a clear, structured vocabulary to discuss attacker behavior, risk exposure, and defensive priorities. In short, ATT&CK turns scattered pieces of threat data into a shared, actionable map that everyone in cybersecurity can understand and build on. Once you understand the basics of MITRE ATT&CK, there are several free tools that make it easier to apply in practice. ATT&CK Navigator is the most popular one. It lets you visualize the matrix, highlight techniques your team can detect, and share interactive heat maps of coverage with others. Atomic Red Team provides small, safe test cases mapped directly to attack techniques. You can run these in a lab to see how specific behaviors appear in your logs and validate your detections. CALDERA, another MITRE project, automates adversary emulation. It simulates attacker behavior across multiple stages of the matrix, so you can test your defense end to end. A good starting point is to open ATT&CK Navigator, mark which techniques your current detections already cover, and then use a few atomic red team tests to generate real data in a controlled environment. Over time, you can build a more complete picture of your detection coverage and use ATT&CK as a roadmap for improving visibility. And now, how to actually learn ATT&CK in a practical way. Start small. Focus on one tactic at a time and study its main techniques and common procedures. Use ATT&CK Navigator to track what you've learned and highlight the techniques you want to test next. Then move to practice. Run a few atomic red team tests in a lab and see how those behaviors show up in your logs. This helps you connect the framework to real detections. If possible, use CALDERA to emulate full attack chains and observe how techniques link together. Map a few of your alerts or detections to attack IDs. Even a small sample will show where you have coverage and where you don't. Keep notes, update your playbook, and repeat the cycle. Each round makes your understanding and your defenses a little stronger. These procedure examples and labels are for defensive purposes only. Do not attempt offensive actions. Use the labels to search logs, build detections, and run safe tests in an isolated lab. MITRE ATT&CK is a practical map of attacker behavior. Use it to improve detection coverage, communicate findings clearly, and make your defenses more effective.